everyone. I'm here today with Derik Hudson, the pride of the Pacific Northwest. Derik, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Great. It's the day before Thanksgiving. We're here chatting about arm lifting. And before you take a second to introduce yourself, I want to jump right to how did you feel about the Orlando World Championships and your performance in particular?
Um, I had hoped a little better on a couple of them, but in the end, the grand scheme of things, it didn't make one bit of difference. I wasn't catching Jason that day. I mean, it just, I was, I beat myself up a little bit on the vertical bar lift. I thought I thought I'd get the two. Well, I lifted 261 and couldn't get it to stop spinning. Couldn't hold it long enough. So I need to practice that as far as not getting it spinning. That would have been a PR, or that weight was. But I felt overall was good. I had only gotten the 2x5 Saxon a month or so before the contest. I thought there would be a naturally bigger jump from my 3x4 to my 2x5. It wasn't. Maybe it's just time with the implement. At the end of the day, like I said, it really wasn't going to make a bit of difference because Jason beat me by enough points that I wasn't going to overtake him for first. Second, I was destined, I guess. So I mean, you could put that in the grand scheme of things, but you're always going to beat yourself up on, oh, I should have, could have I gotten a little bit more out of this or a little bit more out of that. But at the end of it, I felt like I did well. Obviously I have room to improve, room to keep working on stuff. And that's, kind of what it is. The contest itself, very well. I well ran, was smooth. I mean, it's nice to be in a, competing with a bunch of guys that it's like you don't have a bunch of jerks, it seems like, or at least
Absolutely.
If they don't voice themselves as being jerks, but it's like, I'm just amazed that, coming from the strongman world where, everybody has their, you're up, then you're up, then you're up. And then you go to arm lifting and it's just like, all right, here's the weight and just walk up there and lift it whenever you want to lift it type thing. And it works and it goes smooth and it goes, and the time goes, it's not like it's taken us forever to go through these events. And I mean, it works, is I guess is the better to say it. And the venue was nice. I felt Olympia as a whole seemed like it was bigger than last time as far as what was going on there. And yeah, so felt good going out of that.
Let me introduce you. Now I can give you a proper introduction.
There we go.
Derik Hudson, 2023 World Armlifting Championship medalist. How about that?
There you go. Yeah, absolutely.
No, there you go. You were super consistent. And yeah, on the day, Jason was stronger, but he was stronger than everyone else. So yeah. I think there is no shame in sharing the podium with him. So yeah. Job well done. And why don't you, because you just brought up strongman, why don't we segue right now into your background and tell everyone where you're from, what your training experience and competition history has been prior to your fantastic finish in Orlando.
Yeah. So, I mean, it goes back a ways, right? Out of college, I started lifting weights because I was playing softball and I got picked up by a team that we traveled around and we played tournaments. And, it was kind of weird. First tournament I showed up to, the manager of the team walked around with envelopes and it was money. And it was, here's your travel funds. And it was like, this is crazy for softball. Literally we were getting, travel reimbursement funds so that led then to, I started weightlifting. And I started weightlifting more and more and more. Man, I must have lifted weights 8 years or so. And then I met a guy that had a gym that was focused on strongman powerlifting. Started going to the gym started going to that gym. That kind of introduced me, kind of encouraged me to go and dip my toes into strongman. I had always interested in it, but didn't know how to get into it. And I feel like that's how a lot of these sports are.
Was that in Spokane, Washington?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes. So I live in Spokane, Washington. Moved here in 2003. Grew up in Yakima, Washington, which is more central Washington. Went to college in Seattle at the University of Washington. Got hired by the IRS to come. That's what brought me to Spokane. So I was an IRS agent, and then was an agent for 8 years, left and started my own tax practice. And that's what I do now is I have a tax business doing taxes. But yeah, so Spokane, Washington, finally found an avenue to kind of go compete in strongman. That was like 2015. Realized that, without a lot of training, I was relatively good at it. Competed in various contests, throughout this area. When I turned 40, so now I'm what's called a master's athlete. So you get to compete. Then I went to Masters Nationals and I took third place my first year there at Masters Nationals. And so then I, kept competing, went to World's Strongest Man, competed in the Masters class there against legends, that you see competing on TV. That was an eye-opening and humbling experience as you see how strong these men are. And then my friend Andy Muncie, who lives in Spokane as well, was into strongman, and he kept telling me to do grip. And then he hosted a grip contest and went to the first grip contest and did well. I mean, he's like, these are good numbers, and that led to more grip contests, which then and then it's it's a rabbit hole from there, right? It's that contest leads to that contest, which the nice thing about the grip contest is you can do them, they're online, many of them, so you don't have to, you can dip your toes into it and see how you like it without having to commit to traveling somewhere to go compete. And that barrier to entry isn't that hard, because other than you either have to buy the implements or find somebody with them. But it's a good thing. And then as that led to, hey, I'm really good at grip, and I realized I was good at grip when I went to Masters Nationals and we had a 340-pound per hand farmer's carry, and I was the only person to complete the course. Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's no joke. Even for pro level, that is a heavy weight.
Yeah, it was a very heavy farmer's. I picked it up and went with it. 12 seconds, I was down with the course. Nobody else completed the course in 60 seconds. And I was like, oh yes. So you start to realize that, hey, my grip is better than most, right? And then that, and then started doing the super series that they were, Armlifting was hosting. I think I've done 3 of them. Every one of them I finished in the top 10. And then obviously then you start getting invited to things and you're like, okay, I think I'm going to travel to some of this stuff. Right. And then, because you don't know who I am unless I travel and go, and, otherwise I'm just a name on a sheet somewhere. So yeah, went to the World Championships last year, took 4th, went to World Championships this year, took 2nd, went to the Arnold last year, took 5th. You get to meet some of the strongest people in this thing in the world. And it's pretty awesome.
Well, I'm glad that you are literally taking the bull by its horns and using some of your natural gifts, training hard, and putting your talents and skills on display. For the people watching that aren't really familiar with Derik makes very few mistakes, and he is always in the top few people. And that's how you place high at these contests. Like you just rattled off all these contests you've done great at. It's because you're a smart guy. You train hard. You don't make mistakes. I felt bad for you on the vertical lift on the grandfather clock when it was spinning. I was like, slow down, just watching it. But it just wasn't meant to be. It was just a little bit too much. And
no, I understand. And then I saw that you're, with the Arnold events, that it's going to be a rep grandfather clock. And I'm like, oh, there's going to be some practice involved in that, because if you're going to do it for reps and you can't have it spinning, we're going to have to, each pickup, and there has to be more a deliberate pickup and set down.
Yes.
Than just I'm going to bang away at it. So
yeah, it's not going to work. And Chad Clark is going to be the judge for the Arnold, and Chad is very experienced. I told him at the Olympia the judging was excellent. John Tarr, our local judge there in Florida, I thought he did a great job. Hardly missed any calls out of the 65 lifters. He did a very good job in his first World Championships judging. Very commendable. And I think for Chad, the same thing. Chad's been there and seen it all. It can be done that they can't spin. To be honest, I have yet to solidify the weights that are going to be used in the medley, but they will be heavy enough that it will be a challenge. But it's going to be a slower pace than the Raptor handle, I believe.
Yeah. And it needs to be heavier. I feel like, coming from strongman, when we have events that are for reps, they used to say, we're wanting the winner to be maybe you get a winner to get to 10,
Right.
or something like that. And you know it used to be it's heavy, it's whatever for a reason. Not everybody needs to be able to lift that third implement.
Well,
So
we saw that on display. Not
we
everyone
did.
could lift the third implement. So
Yep.
I think for the first medley, I got the weights mostly right. I think
Mhm.
some people are just insane on their
And,
grip strength.
and you are going to
Go
have
ahead.
that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you're going to have that guy that pulls 20 when everybody else is pulling 9. I mean, it just happens.
Well, and the other thing, and I'm a perfect example of it. The best I had done in the medley was 5 reps in practice, and I did 9 on the day in the meet.
Yeah, that's
So
awesome.
a lot of people confided in me privately that they did insane repetitions, like they had no idea where they got it from, and that's the adrenaline. That's why we
Yeah.
all get together in the same place at the same
Yep.
time to let the beast within us out.
Yeah.
And they're Nick Spencer, who went right after me, he was practically delirious. He was like staggering off the thing after a minute of doing the reps. He said he had only done 2 in practice and he did 12. Hey, my hat's off to him.
Yeah.
He did 10 more reps in practice. That's amazing. Good for him.
Yeah.
He beats me all day. That's fantastic. So I think more people fell into that boat that went just crazy on the reps and they got fired up. They saw what the other people did and they were not going to be denied.
Yeah. 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 It was entertaining, actually. It was a good change of pace from what events normally are in that. So
Well, and the other thing is stepping into my other role as president and meet organizer. It provides an experience for the crowd that's great. For the athletes, it was a wild card. And it allows me to fit more athletes and get more qualified people. And I could expand the masters divisions, have
yeah.
a 70-kilo class this year. If it was 3 traditional maximum events, I wouldn't have had the time to do that.
Yeah,
And
I didn't time that, but it did seem like it went much, much faster. Was it
well,
was it
yeah, I
half the
mean, in our
time of
flight,
an
there
MMA?
were 17 people, right? So it's a minute a person. There were limited weight changes. The whole thing was done in 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And the other ones were taking about an hour, weren't they?
Correct.
Yeah, so it's
Correct.
about half the time. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're able to, if you have 2 or 3 flights there, you're able to get more competitors in. And let me tell you, for the Arnold, we have people from all over the globe have seen that YouTube video and they are contacting me. I think we're
Oh,
going
that's
to see
awesome.
some new faces who are very strong, male and female, at the Arnold.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've talked because the viewers don't know, but you and I know, we went to Canada together as well to compete
Yeah.
this summer in Calgary in July, and we talked extensively there. And I am gonna come up with as many contests as I can to invite the world's top lifters and also to um, allow Americans and Canadians and anyone else who wants to travel destinations to go visit. Like we visited Calgary. That was great. I'd never been there. I love that place.
Yeah, it was a neat place.
Yeah. So I am going to constantly pursue avenues that are safe and people can take their families to the venue and they can go on vacation for a few days and lift. We're going to see more of those opportunities as I continue to expand my network and make connections. I have a
Yeah.
call right after this about an undisclosed tropical location.
Oh, there you go.
So time will tell.
That's awesome. That is awesome. That
Yeah.
is awesome.
So, Derik, what's your advice for either, it doesn't have to be a master's athlete, but for someone in strongman or in powerlifting, deadlift especially, who has a great grip, but is maybe unsure about trying on lifting? What's your advice?
Well, so which I already know lots of those people, right? Because of I mean, I tell them, I'm like, just find a thing and go. I'm like, it's fun. I'm like, you don't have to necessarily change your training. You can, when I first started entering in this, I would just throw in a few grip things in with my workouts, right? Because you don't have to, you could be training for a contest of strongman or whatever, and you can still go to a grip contest, and it's probably not going to affect your overall train. It's not going to put you in a detriment the rest of that week, for
Right.
that, because you're not more than likely you're not deadlifting some crazy amount like you would be in your train. I mean, you're doing sub maximum lifts compared to strongman, like deadlifting or whatever, right? Yeah, your forearms, you may wear them out, and you probably will wear them out, but that doesn't mean that just means Monday or Tuesday when you get back to training, you don't, you may not want to do the forearm heavy thing because you may want to let them rest a little bit. But I mean, I think it's a natural progression. I think that, lots of other things in life, grip is a good thing to have. So,
Right.
we should probably be throwing some of that into just normal stuff anyway. And if you follow lots of, I'll say influencers, but guys that are trainers online that have been doing this a long time, that know their stuff, and maybe they compete in powerlifting or strongman or whatever it is, many of them still do grip things. They are
Right.
doing forearm exercises. They're doing grip. It may not be to the extent that you or I would do if we're going to go compete in grip, but they're doing
Right.
something. And so, it doesn't, what is it? Having a stronger grip is never going to be a detriment in your life, right? I mean, and I tell a lot of the guys that I compete with in strongman that, I'm going to competing against guys that are, in their 50s and 60s, and Ode's in his 70s. I'm like, this is the sport you could transition to that you can continue to do. Whereas if you're doing powerlifting or strongman and you're in your 40s, a lot of times it's a matter of how long can I compete in this until I get hurt to the point that I can't.
Right.
And grip doesn't necessarily have anywhere near that same level of fear
Danger.
yeah, absolutely, of getting hurt. I mean, so you're not picking up a heavy thing and trying to carry it. It just doesn't have a lot of those elements. So, here's a sport you could transition into that you can continue to do for obviously for a long time. It's, still allows you to compete. It still gives you something to work for. So when you go to the gym, you can actually have goals, and you can, I mean, frankly, you kind of fell into this because having something to compete for keeps you going to the gym, as opposed to
Absolutely.
just going to the gym and working out and not having a reason to do it. It's a lot easier to say, I'm going to skip this week, or I skip this day or week or whatever it is. But if you have a contest coming up in a few months, like, no, I got to get there Wednesday because Wednesday's this day, and that day is I need to get better at that event or whatever it is. It keeps you accountable, I guess. And so, I mean, so I'm in. I like it. I mean, I enjoy it. I enjoy the camaraderie. I like to compete. I want to do this for a long time. So, as I transition to do, focus more on grip stuff, that's kind of where I'm at.
Right. Well, I think very eloquently said, but I mean, every time I go to the garage and lift, I think of the people I just competed with, like Zach Ebel or Eric or Nick Spencer, and I'm like, man, those guys are Mike Schimmel, the gold medalist. Those guys are ahead of me. I got to put in my work right now, and I'm very happy to do that. And I agree with everything you said. It keeps you going. We had 0 injuries there at the World Championships, and I'm proud of that. That the exercises, these people can fly from all over the world to come lift, and everyone left in one piece. And that's not going to be the case at other events. Not that they're bad, because I've done powerlifting and strongman too, powerlifting for a long time. But I like you said, those of us that have 9 to 5 jobs that work, you want to go back into the office on Monday intact, not with having to schedule a bunch of doctor's appointments, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, accidents happen, injuries happen regardless, but it's a much safer activity. And I think also appealing to women as well. I mean, we had 26 women there in Orlando, and to see that sport grow and to see some of these women superstars who are pulling weights approaching the men, it's just shocking how good they are. I mean, they're unbelievable.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and there's many
Yeah.
of people that are just walking around that could be very good at the sport if you can just get them somehow engaged in it. And I mean,
Right.
and
Well,
there's people.
we've got the tools.
Yeah.
We got the online competitions. I'm going to run a series of clinics in 2024. I tried to do one in Las Vegas. Unfortunately, the enrollment wasn't enough, but I'm offering another one in Phoenix because they're interested in that enrollment. I'm 90% sure that clinic will go. So there's definitely people who want to learn. And if there's not, like you said, you have Andy, you have other strongmen there. If there's not an existing knowledge base, I'll fly to wherever to make a clinic and help people out to start.
Yeah.
That I'm happy to do that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So what are your plans now? What's your next competition? Oh, besides your massive 500-pound monkey grips deadlift, which I think we'll see you add to that. What's the next on the menu for you? The Arnold?
Well, so, I mean, I started Arnold prep this week after you announced events. So I've kind of started laying out how my schedule is going to be for training for that. Being a tax person, my schedule drastically changes by the middle of January. So basically it's build as big of a base as I can between now and middle of January, and then middle of January till the contest in March. That's a 6-week block. It's going to be, how do I maintain as much as I can, right? Because I mean, it gets crazy. You know, I may not be able to, you know, so typically I work out, I try to get out there 5 days a week, you know, an hour-ish a time. So during when that gets busy, maybe I'm going to be able, I'll have to reduce that down to maybe 2 or 3 days a week. But, you know, if I feel like I could probably maintain what I can grow. I may not gain a lot between January and March, but so anyway, that's kind of the goal, is to train. I'm a train for that. You know, I like that monkey grip thing was good to play with. I'll continue playing with that. If there's any other online things earlier in the year that I may just, you know, where you just sign up and you just go. I don't think I wouldn't change training to compete in that, but I would just show up and do whatever I could lift in some of those things. And that's kind of the nice thing about grip, is that, you know, lots of times have lots of different implements, and you can just, you know, you don't have to have ever touched it before to go try it. So
exactly.
So, you know, that's kind of, we'll see what pops up in between there and then. And then, other than that, it's going to be, you know, training for the Arnold, getting some of those things kind of dialed in, try to up. I mean, I can tell you that Arnold was a humbling experience when, you know, when I did my axle was, you know, 4.9, 4.10 or whatever, failed at 420, which would obviously have been a PR, which a 400-pound double overhead axle is a good axle.
It's world-class no matter what your body weight is.
By 140 pounds. I was like, wow, I'm going to have to, I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to gain 140 pounds, but, you know, if I could gain 15 or 20, I'd be happy.
as would anyone else who's experienced the axle lifter, for sure.
Yeah, I know. It's like you gotta practice that. You know, anyway, so I've got my kind of get the training regimen dialed in, and we'll focus on that, and see how the year goes.
Well, Derik, it's been wonderful chatting with you. I will let you get back to the income taxes and your Thanksgiving Day preparations. Awesome. I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving with your family, and thanks for taking the time to talk to me.
Sounds great. You too. All right, buddy.
Okay.